Greetings. Welcome to day 11, I think 11 or 12, no, day 12 of my 21-day live. I am getting Instagram online here, and we are talking about when your kids prefer the other parent. So throughout the live, which will last somewhere around 10-15 minutes, feel free to post any questions or comments in the comments, and I will see if I can respond. So today, I really want to talk about what happens when children resist spending time with you. And a lot of psychologists will call this resist and refuse, or resist or refuse. And so there are a lot of different things that can come into play. So this is not an episode about parental alienation, although a few things could be in play if your children are really resisting spending time with you. One is estrangement, and I'm going to talk about each of these. Another is parental alienation. And then there's a category that involves a number of different things, which is called parental conflict. And so we'll go into about 6 or 7 different ways where parental conflict, where a child is going to make a decision. So let's start with estrangement. I know parental alienation is a very big one, especially in our audience of complex and high conflict divorce. So estrangement, unlike alienation, estrangement is a child rejects a parent because of the parent's behavior. Not because of what the other parent is doing. And so you could have a parent who is particularly controlling or judgmental or abandoning, like emotionally unavailable. There could be abuse, verbal, physical, emotional. And all of those things could have a child pull away from a parent, that parent, children are so intuitive, that parent doesn't feel safe. And so they pull away and they kind of lean more on the other parent. And that would be estrangement. And so if that resonates with you, estrangement is something you have full control over. And it would require you to take a look at the behaviors that may not be serving you well and begin to make some changes. And you can also just talk to your child and ask them really for feedback in many ways, age appropriately. So that's estrangement. The other one is alienation, and parental alienation is a huge issue right now. Parental alienation is when one parent intentionally manipulates and alienates the child from the other parent. And that is actually at the point where it's being considered child abuse in the courts. It's not very black and white. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot out there on parental alienation. And if you feel and know that the other parent has been telling lies, manipulating, and the child could be of any age, coercing, punishing them. I've seen that, like if you talk to daddy or if you talk to mommy, if you know that that is going on, then you may very well be, and your child may be, the victim of parental alienation. And so the parent who's doing the alienating is often referred to as the preferred parent. And they're rejecting the relationship with the other parent, the alienated parent, really without justification. And so there could be very intense emotions. Oftentimes, children develop codependence because they see what's going on and then they try and protect the parent, or they try and push down their own needs or emotions because of a parent who might be scary or overwhelming or overly emotional. And so that all falls into parental alienation. In those situations, you could find that They're messing with your custody time and undercutting you in other ways too. You sign them up for sports and they don't take the kids to the sports. So if that's you, there's a lot of support out there, and we have some really great podcasts. So just type alienation in the comments, whatever platform you're on, and I will get you a resource on that. And then the third one is that parental conflict. And so one of the things, I recently interviewed two different psychologists who explain that when children are feeling like a tug of war, like both parents are pulling on them, that's an incredibly hard place for children to be, children of any age. And so they will make a decision, consciously or unconsciously. They'll navigate to one parent, not necessarily because that parent is better than the other parent, but because they cannot hold that conflict. They cannot stay in the middle of the conflict. And so they choose. And so if that's your situation, you can do something about the parental conflict to ease that burden on the children. So it could be a number of different things. It could be their age. It could be their cognitive abilities, if you have neurodiversion going on or some other challenges. It could be something it could be something with the sibling relationship that's causing them to pull away from one parent or another. It could be factors with the preferred parent, that the preferred parent isn't alienating you, but is sharing negative beliefs, behaviors, and so that will inform the child's behavior. And that could go on either side. So the parent, you could have a parent who's sharing negative beliefs on the other side that will either pull the child closer or further away. It could be that there are professionals involved who have a slightly one-sided perspective on you, the estranged parent. And it could also be just the court process and what's going on. They could just feel really frustrated that they're not able to go to their sports events, or they have to be with mom or dad because of custody, and they're teenagers and they don't want to know diddly about custody. So there are all of these different things involved. And so if you have a child who's in that resist or refuse to see you, resist to see you phase, the first thing is to get really honest with yourself. Like, look at that estrangement piece. Are there things that you're doing? And you might be what we refer to, right, as a helicopter parent or a really controlling parent, or you could be somebody who assumes that because they're in your physical space, you don't actually have to be engaged with them. And so they're feeling that lack of emotional connection. So if there's anything on your part, start there. That's the easiest answer. Start with your behavior. If it is in fact parental alienation, there's a lot of resources. I have a couple of podcasts. I have a couple of experts that I can refer if it's severe parental alienation. So you could drop estrangement in the comments. You could drop alienation in the comments. And then that other piece is that kind of catch-all of what's going on with the child, what's going on in the divorce, as well as, if there's a family therapist or a child therapist, or so many different things. And so that's step one. And then once you figure out what it is, or even before you figure out what it is, a couple of rules that I'd like to share with you. One is, don't assume. Do not assume that you know. And in fact, if it's anything that you need to ask the child appropriately, it's really valuable to ask to share. Ask them to share what they're feeling, what they really like about their time with you, what they wish was different about their time with you. And don't take them personally, even though they're talking about you. These are children. And so whatever they say, you don't want to get offended and come back. If you're going to ask the question, then you want to be a safe person that they can come to. So if your child says to you, actually, Mommy, I really don't like hanging out with you because your house is stinky and smells like cigarettes. That's their honest answer. And so what you want to do is, asking is brilliant. It builds trust, it builds communication, it lets them know that you care. And if you hear them and you can reflect back, and if you don't agree with them, don't start there. Like, talk it through. And I would always ask my kids permission. What I hear you saying is A, B, and C. Did I get that? Did I miss anything? And then I might say, I have a slightly different perspective. Can I share it with you? And so there are ways to really open up children to have these conversations, and that bring value to them. The other thing is, don't ever stop. So if you're dealing with some kind of alienation or anything where your kid's not with you, whatever you're doing, send those texts. Let them know that you love them. Reach out to them on special occasions. Ask them questions, even when they don't respond back. I have one client, he's just been brilliant at this. It's been a long time. And one child started to respond, the other child not so much yet. And so he's tenacious. He will keep saying he loves them. He will keep inquiring. He will keep sharing things that he thinks they're interested in. We all want to be loved. And so if you have a child who's not really connected with you, just be loved. Show up every day, show up in every communication. And yes, you have to grow a thick skin. And yes, you need to talk to your coach, your therapist, or your friends about your heartbreak. But with that child, you want to show up and really give them 100% of your heart. And the last thing I'll say is, it may be, when the courts are involved, it may be that there are some red flags that a custody evaluation would be a valuable thing for you. And so if you're having a hard time with your child and you feel like there might be alienation, there may be some other things going on, and you're negotiating for long-term custody, this would be one of those times that it would be worth sitting down and talking to your attorney about what a custody evaluation is and whether or not it might be valuable in your situation, because that's a legal way that you can really get to the heart of what's going on and have professionals. A custody evaluation is usually a psychologist who will evaluate both parents and the children and determine what the best next step is. And so that's it. A very quick covering of when your kids prefer the other parent and what might be going on, and some steps that you can take. So I hope you found value, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another live. Have a good evening.